Hey everybody, it's Nick from Android Headlines, and today we're going to be bringing you our full HTC 10 review. So no doubt you've seen plenty of HTC in the news lately, and most of it really hasn't been very good. HTC has had a tough time keeping up with the Joneses, as it was once called, citing plenty of quarters of financial turmoil now that's enough to shake any investor in the company. Here comes the HTC 10, a product of a company that's working on rebuilding its core products and rebranding itself as it moves into 2016 with a bang. The HTC 10 is everything we'd hoped it to be in many ways, and that of course first starts off with the specs. For $700 unlocked, you're going to be getting a phone that's powered by none other than the Snapdragon 820 CPU, which is the fastest mobile SoC on the market right now, as well as 4 gigs of RAM, which means the HTC 10 isn't going to be slowing down anytime soon. It's also got either 32 or 64 gigs of internal storage, plus support for up to 200 gig micro SD card as well. The battery is not removable, but at least it's pretty sizable at 3000 mAh and will easily last you a full day without issue. In fact, I found the standby time to be pretty epic to say the least, with 3 full days of light use before having to charge it. Heavier use days will likely net you around 5 to 7 hours of screen on time, a number that rivals many of the best out there, and of course this doesn't seem to be done with any sort of trickery like completely pausing apps in the background or some other nefarious things that we've seen other OEMs do. North American customers should take note of HTC's uh-oh protection, as it provides them with a completely free replacement of their phone almost no matter what you do to it. International customers will instead get a pair of high-resolution audio-capable headphones, which doesn't seem like a fair trade-off for sure, but at least you'll be enjoying some truly stellar audio quality with your phone. You'll also need to take note that this is a USB Type-C phone, which means that you'll need to re-outfit your accessories or at least get adapters to change from micro USB to USB Type-C. This one also supports Qualcomm Quick Charge 3.0, which means 80% charge in as little as 30 minutes. So speaking of that USB Type-C port and that build, this one is a seriously well-built phone and is likely one of the most well-put-together phones I've ever used. Everything about the build screams premium quality, from the slightly heavy weight of the body that makes the metal actually feel like metal, to the slightly powdered finish on the back of the phone. You're going to absolutely love holding this one in your hand all day long. The deep chamfered edges on the phone, coupled with the slight curve on the back, fits perfectly in your palm, and even the size of the phone was rather perfect for my hand. What's nice here is this one actually looks like an HTC phone too, not an iPhone clone or a Galaxy clone like we've seen plenty of other phones on the market look. Even the recessed capacitive touch home button looks like it's HTC's own design and has clearly been carried over from Fall's HTC One A9. This isn't a button you physically press, rather it acts like a capacitive back or overview button which flank it on both sides. It also doubles as a fingerprint scanner, and an incredibly accurate and fast one too, that absolutely again matches the best out there. On the bottom side of the unit sits a single speaker next to that USB Type-C port instead of having 2 front-facing speakers like HTC has done with the past handful of flagships. They've opted for a single large speaker on the bottom of the phone and a smaller tweeter-type speaker in the top earpiece. This keeps the stereo sound and super loud volume from previous flagships, but in the end really just doesn't sound quite as good as those phones did. Still, this is way better audio than you get out of something like a Galaxy S7 for instance, but not anywhere near the absolute best on the market. Speaking of audio, you'll find that boom sound has returned in all its glory with an easy to tick setting for toggling the feature on or off. There's also some presets for the external speaker for music or movies, and folks that have headphones or other audio hardware that's capable of utilizing high-resolution audio will be happy to know that the HTC 10 supports 24-bit audio out of the box. There's even aptX support for considerably higher quality Bluetooth audio on supported Bluetooth devices. The metal unibody design of the phone continues its upward trend and extends all the way up to the screen, creating a truly metal body that's more like a shell than just a metal back. The 5.2-inch screen up front likewise extends almost to that metal edge and looks absolutely gorgeous for an LCD display. It's got really heavily saturated colors that pop, giving a much more AMOLED feel to the display, rather than the traditionally muted and more natural colors that LCD panels from HTC have been calibrated for. Those that don't like this look can easily change it in the display settings to bring back the more natural colors. You can also adjust that color temperature of the display too, but it won't help the odd color shifting that happens when tilting the display, which actually seems to move it between warm and cool depending on which angle you're tilting at. The refresh rate could also use some help too, as I saw some pretty significant ghosting going on compared to other flagships here in 2016. Thankfully though, it's got some excellent brightness range and can be easily viewed in sunlight as well as that really dark room you're trying to read in. HTC's software is as light and fast as ever, and although it's running Sense UI, you're not going to be finding any huge rebranding or redesign here. HTC is sticking with its tried and true style, which honestly is more pleasant than most other OEM skins in general. Things are marked very clearly, with well-designed icons and descriptions under each one as well. It's sort of a middle ground between Samsung's almost overly simple design, where all the buttons are simply text descriptions of actions with no visual icons or indicators, while LG's rather cryptic icons with no descriptions tend to be a bit confusing. If you don't like the setup HTC has going here or the look, you can easily change them out with one of the thousands of theme packs available for free on the HTC theme store, and these theme quite a few things on the phone as well, not just that launcher. The phone is a bit light on features though when compared to maybe LG or Samsung's latest, but most of the time I really didn't find myself missing any of these. Double tap to wake is here and works incredibly well, although it's not nearly as useful as the always-on displays of the LG G5 or the Galaxy S7. You'll also find the usual set of motion gestures here, but nothing too crazy or convoluted. HTC's skin offers more features than stock Android without a doubt, but doesn't go overboard with them or get confusing like some of those other OEM skins do. Moving on to that camera around the back, you'll find one of the better shooters on the market without a doubt. As you may have seen from my handful of camera tests between all the biggest flagships out right now, the HTC 10 doesn't necessarily match every scenario as the other players, but it's absolutely HTC's best camera in years. Ultra Pixel makes a glorious return with that 12 megapixel sensor on the back, which features 1.55 micron sized pixels. That's the same size as the ones in the Nexus 6P, and 0.15 microns larger than the Galaxy S7's new sensor. While this should translate into better photos than most phones, HTC's software still seems like it needs a little bit of work. I found plenty of photos that didn't have quite the right color balance, and it was really easy to trick it, especially when you're looking at wood or some other colors where it thinks the scene needs to be super warm or super cool. There are also ones where the exposure was overly high and too often photos that weren't properly in focus. It seems like something weird is going on with the way the software uses the laser autofocus module on the back, and I had plenty of times where this block sensor error would come up on the screen. This happened most often when in low light, where the laser is actually supposed to provide the greatest help, as it doesn't rely on just what our human eyes can see. It's quite a shame too, because HTC's actual processing of the photos and the way they handle photo taking is really fantastic. First off, they aren't afraid of higher ISO levels, like a lot of other OEMs are, to keep that shutter from going too slow. This could translate into some additional noise in lower light conditions, but it means that handshake and blurry photos should be a thing of the past. Advanced optical image stabilization helps this too, and works especially well in video, where I found the HTC 10 to produce some of the smoothest and bump-free videos of any phone on the market. OIS-stabilized 4K video is a thing of beauty, and you'll likely marvel at how good videos look from the HTC 10. HTC just has a few things to clean up in the balancing department, but they got more things right with this camera than wrong, and that's more than I can say for most OEMs out there. All in all, this is one seriously amazing phone, but the question is, does it have enough standout features to make people notice? And at $700, this one's more expensive than the LG G5 and right on par with the Galaxy S7. That's a huge bargain for HTC to be playing, and it remains to be seen if they can sell enough of these phones to make a difference at this price. Yes, it's absolutely every bit as worthwhile as the G5 or the Galaxy S7 without a doubt, but without the huge names of LG or especially Samsung, trying to play the game of matching price doesn't seem like it's a really wise move for HTC. It's definitely a 10 out of 10 in most categories and certainly fits the name most of the time. But without any specific standalone features, time will tell if this is what HTC has been looking for to refill its empty coffers. We hope you enjoyed this review, and don't forget to subscribe if you did. Check out more of our content on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Google+, and of course at the site. Wherever you are, we are. Thanks for watching. Until next time.